Hello, everyone. Welcome to our Living Kabbalah. Thank you for turning on the videos. If you can do it, it makes it nice, much better for us. We all see each other, connect. And we're in the week called Chayei-Sarah. And as always, any questions, anything you want to talk about, feel free. More than welcome to have a discussion so we can talk and discuss what's going on with you guys. Last week was pretty intense, was a bit heavy. This week, we're still in the month of Scorpio, a very strong, positive month, but it requires a lot of spirituality, a lot of our effort to transform the bitterness into sweetness. And before we start, we'll start with a meditation, as always. We want to always do, start our class with a consciousness, with a little bit more elevation, and we want to close our eyes, be present. Imagine ourselves being surrounded by white, beautiful light. And we want to ask the Creator to help us connect with the energy, with the light, with the wisdom, with the compassion and kindness and courage we need. And to hear exactly what we need to hear. And also to come out from this class different people already. To use this space, to use this time that we're together as a time to transform, to change our beliefs, to change our perspectives, and be more connected with ourselves, with the light, with our desires, with our true selves. Okay, so we are in a very, very special week. It's called, if you have the Chumash, I highly recommend always to read it, the Genesis book. The portion starts on page 203, and you can always read it, and it talks about the energy that is available this week. Now, this week is very special. One of the reasons is because it's named after a person, the portion, and it doesn't usually happen. It only happens 5 times in the entire scroll, that the portion is named after somebody. And not only that, this week it's very special because it's named after a woman. After a woman that is considered a matriarch, Sarah Imenu. She's considered the mother of basically Western world, and the name of the portion is very beautiful. It's called The Life of Sarah. It's very interesting that actually there's no mentioning of her life in this portion. The portion starts with the passing of Sarah. However, it talks about her life, named after her life. So it's not so logical. It should be named the maybe legacy of Sarah or Sarah's passing or something like that. But naming it the life of Sarah is doesn't make so much sense. And the Zohar, obviously, thank God we have the Zohar. It decodes all of this and gives us the messages. It talks, in general, this week talks about a few energies. First of all, legacy that we leave behind. That's one. Another one is staying young, being young. Real estate, and also the ability of letting go, of not being too attached to the outcome. and we'll talk about why and how. And the page in the Zohar, it's volume 4. Volume 4. And it starts with, right in the beginning, it's on page 2, literally right in the beginning of this week's portion. So the first immediate lesson that we can learn right away is, and we learn this in the wisdom of Kabbalah, is asking souls of the righteous to help us, to assist us in our journey. We know that any person that completes their tikkun, a Kabbalist or a person that completes their tikkun, they become angelical beings, almost even higher than angels, and they're able to assist humans and everyone in our physical world, on our plane, to elevate and to do their spiritual work. So today, this whole week, we're given one of the biggest righteous souls, access to one of the biggest righteous souls that has ever lived, the matriarch Sarah. And there's many different things that that we know about her. She's known as one of the most beautiful women that ever lived in this world. She was considered not just of her time, but of all time. She's considered one of the most beautiful women. She's one of the most righteous women that ever lived in this world. And the important thing is to understand that she's not someone who passed, but she's actually here with us. And this week, she's available to us more than ever. She's available to assist us, to help us in our spirituality, in our work, more than any other time. And Kabbalists even say that it's almost, if you don't request assistance from righteous souls in your spiritual work, it's almost impossible to do your spiritual work, to do your evolution, to grow. So the first thing right off the bat that we're learning in this week's portion is that we need to ask for help, but also more importantly, to ask in our meditations, in whatever meditations you do, when you scan Zohar, when you do Anabekos and names, etc., you ask for the soul of Sarah to come and assist you, to give you clarity, to give you more ability of kindness, to break whatever limits you might have, whatever limits you might believe you have. The day of her elevation is Rosh Hashanah. She passed right on the day of the first day of Rosh Hashanah. That's her day of elevation. So it has a little bit of this energy of Rosh Hashanah still, of determining what's going to happen. And she left, it says that last week's portion, if you remember, the main event was called Akedat Yitzchak, which is binding of Isaac, where Abraham, the father of Isaac, binds Isaac, controls him, and makes him, and wants to make him into a sacrifice. But of course it doesn't happen. And at the same time, a few miracles happen. First of all, Sarah leaves the physical world. She becomes disconnected from physicality, and she completely becomes connected to the spiritual world. And it's because she actually was not present at the binding, and her soul wanted to be there so much that the Creator said, you know what, you can go above the physical reality, and now you can be anywhere. So again, one of the things we really want to do, and we'll do it at the end of the class in our meditation, is to ask for the soul of Sarah to come and help us in our spiritual work. Because she, like Abraham, they did an unbelievable job. Whatever they did was absolutely out of this world, because they took the world from completely a left column space, a space where people only thought about themselves, and brought it to a space where they started to think about others. It's a little bit hard for us to understand, but people before Abraham, people were completely in their own self. There was no thinking, no consideration. There was no, thought of being, I should be kinder, I should be more compassionate, I should be nicer. There was none of that. Abraham and Sarah started that. They started this movement of kindness. And obviously we learn in many places in the Zohar where it says that a man is not the most balanced space is where there's a union of male and female energy. And that's something that we're asked to always balance out within ourselves, within our relationships, within our life, within our world, balance between plus and minus, a balance between male and female energy, that there isn't more of one than the other. It's the balance, it's the union of the two that really makes the world a brighter place. Just like in a light bulb, you need a plus and a minus in order for the light to be generated. So it's in this week's portion, we also learn the same thing, that there needs to be a balance of receiving and taking. You shouldn't just be in receiving and you shouldn't just be in giving. There needs to be a balance. Another very powerful thing that's been happening lately is, and like we spoke about it last week, is the idea of when you feel like you're lacking something, when you feel like something is missing, when you feel like I'm not giving enough love, I'm not giving enough attention, I'm not giving enough credit, I'm not giving enough, whatever it might be, whatever your blank of missing is, one of the most always good ways in spirituality to change it is to be the giver of whatever it is that you feel like is missing. That, yes, not to deny and not to say, oh, I don't need it anymore, it's okay, I can live without it, it's not important. No, we don't deny the desire, but the way you will receive it in a more proactive way and you feel lighter about it is when you're gonna say, you know what, I'm not giving enough love, I'm gonna give more love. I'm gonna give more love, more care, because I know that once you give, that's when you can really receive. So one of the lessons of this week and this whole month, because month of Scorpio is left column, it's about receiving, it's about desire, it's about me wanting, I want, give me, give me, give me. So in order to kind of activate, make that happen, is you feel whatever it is that you want to receive, but you say, you know what, I'm gonna go out of my comfort zone, I'm gonna go out of my desire to receive, and I'm gonna give this to somebody else. That's something very powerful. Now, again, visiting the sites where righteous people are buried and asking for their assistance is a huge theme of this whole week. We should be in a mode of asking for more help from the Creator, asking the Creator to give us answers, to give us guidance, to give us understanding, to give us energy, to give us health, support, sustenance, whatever it is that we feel that we need. We want this week to be in this mode of asking, of praying. Praying is really communicating, it's really expressing, it's really asking for assistance from the Creator. And the soul of Sarah is kind of with us this whole week. You know, it's imagine like there's gonna be like an assistant guardian angel that's gonna be with us this whole week, helping us do our spiritual work. Sarah is also very interesting. Sarah, if you look at her name, it's the letter Shin Resh He, and if you spell it out, it's Shofar Rosh Hashanah, meaning another connection to Rosh Hashanah. So even though Rosh Hashanah and the month of Tishrei is over, actually the energy of Rosh Hashanah is really going to end in Hanukkah. That's the final stage of Rosh Hashanah, and we're still in the midst of it. We're still experiencing a little bit of a darkness, and we're going to all experience something that we should still close. You are going to be feeling this week, you're going to be experiencing, you're going to be sensing something that needs a little bit more fine-tuning for the year to come. So whatever it is might be that you're feeling, don't deny it obviously, but realize it that this is something that needs fine-tuning in your life. Okay? So life of Sarah. Sarah's life is with us, like literally the life, the energy of Sarah is with us. It's also, life is connected to the word mochin. Mochin means brains. It doesn't exactly mean brain, it means consciousness. So the consciousness of Sarah is present this whole week. And we're in the second half of the month, meaning the energy is going down. So a lot of proactivity is required from us to access all this energy. So lesson number one is we want to meditate and to ask Sarah for assistance this whole week. The whole week, we want to be asking her for assistance because she experienced incredible miracles in her life. She experienced childbirth at 89. She was, you know, even though Abraham seems like a much more important figure, and he's very important, but obviously he wouldn't be anything without Sarah, right? So it's the importance of the two, importance of this union. And the first thing we want to think about, we want to meditate on, is asking Sarah for her assistance. We're literally coming and helping us in everything, creating miracles and removing judgments, because that's what she's also very much connected to, because Rosh Hashanah is about removing judgments. So Sarah is very much connected to this energy of removing judgments in our life. Now, the other interesting part in this week's portion is the way her years that she was alive are written. It's very interesting. It's not written she was, hold on one second. Both. So Zaya is asking, praying, does this mean you just need to talk to the creator or ask for questions? Praying to the creator, meaning asking the creator for assistance. Meaning, I want creator, this is what I can meditate on. Creator, help me in giving this class. And then I can say, Sarah Imenu, Sarah the Matriarch, help us experience this class on a deeper level, not just on an intellectual, but on a deeper spiritual soul level. So you can ask, basically in the state of meditation, asking the creator for assistance, asking Sarah for assistance, because she is a very powerful, extremely powerful figure in the upper world. She's, probably one of the biggest entities that is in the upper world. So, and you can always ask her for help, but especially this week. And obviously, it also teaches us about the power of women, that women have a very big responsibility in this world of bringing spirituality, of bringing light into this world. Sarah is the first woman that started to do her tikkun. Abraham was the first man, and Sarah is the first woman. And it says that without women doing their correction and women doing spirituality, the world it's impossible for the world to finish the tikkun. And also, when women do spirituality, it almost kind of like a given that the man receive the light for it. I don't know if it's clear, but when a woman does spiritual work in a relationship or in a home, she is actually providing light not just for herself, but for her partner and for her family. So women bringing light into this world is much more powerful than men. That's why and also the 4 redemptions that we experience in this world came from women. It came from Esther, it came from Yehudit, it came from Hannah, and it came from, I think, Yael. There's 4 women that basically were the causes of redemption to come. Of redemption to happen, and they were all women. It wasn't men that made it happen. So, life of Sarah, and it's very interesting the way it's worded. You might have heard it, and it's very important to mention it. That it says that she lived 100 years, 20 years, and 7 years. So the way it's labeled and the way it's written in the scroll, it's not grammatically correct. They're separating. It's not 127 years. It's 100 years, 100 year, 20 year, and 7 years. The 120 are missing the letter S. So it's almost like it's one singular, which doesn't really make sense. And there's many secrets to that. One is that she was, it basically talks of her greatness, that she was always as beautiful as a 20-year-old, as lively as a 7-year-old, and as wise as a 100-year-old her whole life. It's also an indication that she eventually reincarnates as Queen Esther, and she rules over 120 regions and states in the Persian Empire. Because she was 127 years, she was completely connected to the creator. She didn't have a single moment in her life when she disconnected from the light. Now, what does it mean disconnecting from the light? Disconnecting from the light doesn't actually happen. You cannot disconnect from the light, right? We all think, oh, I might have disconnected. I was reactive. That was negative. I shouldn't have done that. Oh, this is happening because I disconnected, etc. That's not true. You actually cannot disconnect from the light. It's impossible. There's no such thing. Light meaning the source of everything, right? The source of all fulfillment. It means there's absolutely no way of disconnecting from the light force. Because if you do, it's actually an oxymoron. It's impossible to completely disconnect from the creator. It's not something that's actually possible. Easy to understand, not so easy to experience over time, right? We can intellectually understand it. I can tell you that, oh, you're never disconnected from the light. You're always connected. You always have the happiness, the joy, the fulfillment that you want is always with you. It's easier said, but it's not so easy to feel all the time, right? We don't always feel it. Sometimes we feel disconnected. We feel the darkness, we feel the lack, etc. How do you go about that? That usually is indication that it is a moment for you to remove some false beliefs, that it's a moment for you to meditate and to receive this energy, this consciousness on your subconscious level. So the moment I feel disconnected, the most powerful thing I can do is to remember I'm never actually disconnected. It is impossible to be disconnected from the light. It is totally false. Whatever I'm feeling, whatever I'm experiencing is actually a total illusion, a complete total illusion. The stronger you're able to have that consciousness and have that understanding, the more quicker, resiliently, the faster you're going to reconnect and go back to how you should be. So the feeling of disconnection is a total illusion. That's one of the main lessons that we also want to learn. There's no such thing as disconnection. No such thing. It's completely impossible. Now, another thing that happens in this week's portion is also Isaac, the son of Abraham and Sarah. He finds his wife. So it means that this energy this week has consciousness energy of soulmates. And it's going to happen for a while. The book of Genesis has a lot of energy of soulmates because it's something that's very deep on a Keter level. The whole book of Genesis is happening on the level of Keter, seed level. That's why there's no precepts, there's no rules. It's just conduct. It's just the way you conduct yourself with other people, with yourself. So it's kind of teaching us not just like, oh, you shouldn't eat meat and dairy, that we have another portion, right? There's no such thing here. Actually, it's the opposite. Abraham feeds the angels last week meat and dairy together, right? So it's like, it's very different. But the whole energy of the book is seed level, is very kind of like you need to have this covered first until you go into the details, kind of. That's what the creator is telling us. Now, so youth, energy of youth, and I spoke about it with Julia on our Facebook broadcast, but energy of youth has a lot to do with desire, has a lot to do with a healthy desire. And that's what Sarah had. Sarah had an intense and very strong desire to be connected to the light. And that's one of the main things you want to ask her this week, is to give us a bigger desire to be connected to the light, a stronger, healthier, bigger desire to be connected to the light force. Not to just be satisfied with something with a little bit, but to constantly crave and go after for more, and more. That's something that's an essential part of anyone on a spiritual path, that you want to be constantly going after your next level. Never saying, oh, that's it, I did enough, I did plenty, and now I'm good. No, never. Constantly striving for more, constantly going after more, constantly saying, okay, what else I can do? What else? How else I can grow? How else I can connect? How else can I connect more people? Because it was incredible that she was in her life. Her life started, really the journey of being a Kabbalist and connected to a creator started at the age of 65. So it took, and throughout that whole time, from 65 till 127, she was constantly working to connect more and more people to the light. So one of the tools, one of the secrets that Sarah also tells us is that the way you connect to the creator is you understand that humanity is one, that human race is one, that humanity is one whole, that I cannot just be focused on my spiritual work and forget about everyone else. I need to make sure that I'm spending as much time helping other people connect to the light, not just on myself. That needs to be a a very good chunk of my week where I think how I can connect other people to the light, not just myself. And speaking from experience as a teacher, I always know that the more I teach, the more I meet students, the more I connect others, that's when I connect to myself. That's when I connect myself more. And that's when my energy changes. Okay, so it's not about constantly thinking about me, but also thinking about other people. And the moment you think about other people, you break huge barriers in your life. You break huge klipot, huge limitations. So that's another lesson from Sarah, is that to learn that the way, the state of the people around me, of the world around me, is dependent on me. It's not disconnected from me. It's not that I can just go and think about my spiritual work and forget about everything else. No, I need to consider and think how I can connect more and more souls to the light. That's why it says that Abraham and Sarah created souls. It's a beautiful statement. How could you create souls? How could two people create souls? And actually what they were doing is by connecting people to the light, they were creating souls. That's what they were really doing, which is a beautiful lesson. So another lesson of this week portion comes directly from the Zohar, and it's a very important section. It's an important section. It's in the, very interesting. It's on page 15. It's section 4, if you want to know. It's in the Zohar, and it's labeled "He who is small and he who is great." And the basic story of this is one of Rav Berg's favorite sections of the whole Zohar, where he talks about that people that try to make themselves big in this world are actually only making themselves smaller in the upper world and smaller in the big reality. And people that don't go after making themselves look great and big in this physical world will be great in the true world, in the world to come, or actually in this world, really. That there's many different lessons in it. One of them is the understanding that the more I focus on the external, if I focus way too much on making myself and focusing on the physical, focusing on the 1%, focusing on how I look, how people see me, what people think about me, etc. When I'm way too focused on that, that's when I'm losing energy. That's when I'm losing light. And the more I am focusing on how I am inside, how humble am I? How connected am I? How much positive actions am I doing? How much light am I revealing? When I'm focused on that, that's when I'm generating true light for my soul. Right? Because there's times when we feel depleted, right? When we feel depleted. Today was, I don't know about everyone here, but today was a bit kind of like strong day. You know, it wasn't like a smooth like butter, right? It was a little bit of a push, for me at least. And the moment, you know, everything changed once I had a moment to sit, to meditate, to connect, to awaken some consciousness, to remember what's really important, to really reestablish my connection with the light and remove whatever was disturbing it. That's when things shifted. One way I do that, by the way, is also the Zohar, right? When the moment you scan Zohar, connect to the Zohar, you immediately connect to the light force. It's always a cheat code of how to connect to the light. So that's a very powerful section. And we're going to read it in our meditation also to connect to this energy, because Sarah was also never running after looking great in physical reality. That wasn't her goal. You know, it wasn't her goal, how people see me, what people think about me. Actually, people probably mostly thought that she wasn't a good person, because the human world, the humanity at that moment was all about selfishness, was all about me. There was no consideration of others, of thinking about others, etc. It was all basically, the more you think about yourself, the better you're off, because nobody else is going to think about you. That was the main thought of the day back in the day. So section 21 and 22 are very good sections, especially 21 really, are very powerful sections to help us lower our ego, help us lower our desire for pride, for honor, for recognition, for all these small things really, you know, because all these things are really, you're settling for something very small. It's also forms of klipot that we have. Klipot will always rage and kind of be more active when you're not receiving enough appreciation, love, respect, and honor. And love, it's gonna, you know, the klipot are gonna get more upset at that moment. So we want to ask ourselves, why is it so important for me to receive honor? Why do I need recognition? Why do I want to be respected, honored, loved by people? Ask yourself these questions. You know, it's questions. Asking questions is an art, especially in the wisdom of Kabbalah. One of the things that you want to learn to do more and more is to ask the right questions. So ask yourself, why is this important for me? Why do I want to achieve this? How can I achieve it better? This conversation that you can have with yourself is very important, very, very powerful to have. So it's also the week's portion. The reason why it's connected to soulmates is because Isaac, like I mentioned, Isaac, Abraham and Sarah's son, finds his soulmate. Her name was Rivka. And there's a beautiful lesson in this week's portion that Karen always said about soulmates. And this is very important. I want you to hear it. 1 second. So, first of all, Isaac was brought up in the household of, you know, total light, total righteousness. Abraham and Sarah were all about the Creator, all about spirituality, all about light, all about wisdom, all about kindness, all about compassion. So Isaac was a very, very, very special, unique, connected person, and he eventually becomes a patriarch, right? He becomes a patriarch. He becomes the channel of energy of Gvura in this physical reality. He balances it. He balances desire, even though it says that he was born actually with a total opposite desire. He was born like Abraham eventually became, a total being of sharing. And he totally went against his nature of being just the right column and became a person who had a healthy desire also. And eventually he meets his soulmate this week. It's also, he established the afternoon prayer. So there's 3 times that a person has to connect. There's the morning hours, which are connected to Abraham. There's the afternoon hours, which are connected to Yitzchak. And there's the nighttime, which are connected to Yaakov. And each one is very much connected to that patriarch. So when you meditate in the morning, it's connected to energy of Abraham. When you meditate in the afternoon, meaning literally afternoon until sunset, you're connecting to sweetening of the judgments and the prayer of Isaac. And after the sunset, it's the prayer of Yaakov, the balance. Now, Isaac's soulmate, Rivka, she was born in a totally negative environment and in a totally selfish environment. And actually, she was born in her brother, it says, was the biggest wizard that the world has ever experienced. The biggest wizard that ever lived and was Rivka's brother. And Rivka was very young, and she immediately, right after when she was born, she knew that she has to leave her, she knew that she had to leave her place where she was born, and that she doesn't want to stay in that environment, and she wants to meet her uncle, Abraham, and be with him, and marry Isaac, her eventual, her soulmate, really. So one of the indications of how Isaac knew that she is his soulmate is, it says that Sarah had a tent. Obviously, Abraham had a tent, Sarah had a tent. And after Sarah left this physical world, it says that the candles in her tent went out. And there was no light, not just physical, but spiritual. There was no spiritual light in her tent. And the moment Isaac brought Rivka into Sarah's tent, the whole tent lit up. And it was an indication right away that he knew that she is his soulmate, because she literally kindled all the lights that were in Sarah's tent. So that was very beautiful. But the sentence that Karen Berg always uses for soulmates and for long-lasting marriages and relationships, she says, she quotes this week's portion where it says that, and Isaac knew her, Isaac married her, and then he loved her, which is a contradiction to how we normally operate, right? How do we normally operate? The whole world, 99% of the world, it operates on, I love this person, I feel a strong attraction to them, I'm gonna marry them, and eventually maybe one day I'll get to know them, right? That's how we normally operate. However, this week's portion and Isaac and Rivka are teaching us something very different. That first of all, you need to get to know the person. You need to know the person on a conscious level. And this is really relationships. Relationship is all about communication, right? What's intimacy? Intimacy is when you can be vulnerable, when you can be open with another person. That's what true intimacy is. Intimacy has nothing to do with, intercourse is one thing, intimacy is another. People that just go after physical connection, that's also good and fun and great. But real connection happens when you're able to be vulnerable, open with another person, and be safe and comfortable at the same time. That's real relationship. That's what a relationship should be based on. That it's not just a space for me to have a hormonal rush, which is also good and important, but I want to be more focused on spiritual connection, on the connection of our souls, of our consciousness and spirits. And the whole study of soulmates is very interesting. It's there's soulmates, there's kindled spirits, there's many different people that you can label as soulmates in your life, right? Like a business partner can be a soulmate, a friend can be a soulmate, right? But what we're saying is, I like this term, it's a divine life partner. Meaning it's someone that's not just here for you for a certain part of your life, but kind of completes you on the whole level, completes you, connects you to who you are, helps you on your journey, and not just necessarily a rush, of energy. So soulmates and relationships is obviously, it's not one class that you can cover, but you definitely want to understand that the soulmate energy is very available this week. This week, and for a few weeks ahead of us, it's going to be happening until probably January. There's a lot of energy of soulmates this week because Isaac meets Rivka this week. Then we're going to have Jacob meeting Rachel and Leah, etc. There's a lot of energy of soulmates of this whole week. But going back to that sentence, Isaac knew her, he married her, and then he loved her. That the connection that you can have with another person is the most important thing. And one of the things that we need to learn to be there for people is to offer people a safe space to express themselves, to be vulnerable. Vulnerability is probably the most powerful trait that a person can have in life. There's nothing stronger. There's nothing stronger, nothing more freer, especially in a relationship when you can be totally vulnerable. First of all, with yourself, so you know yourself better, and then with another person. And it's a whole art, right? Like we're not really taught this in school, how to be open, how to support another person, how to be vulnerable, how to create a safe space for another person to be open and to be vulnerable, right? We're not taught this, but that's not necessarily. We don't want to blame anyone for this, right? We want to take responsibility for it. And the fact that we're here obviously means we're ready for this. So this week, we're also given an opening of how to have a stronger relationship with whoever it is. Ultimately, God willing, with our soulmate, But also all relationships are infused with this energy where you can be more open, more vulnerable, more uh, more courageous. Because also, in order to be vulnerable, you need to have some courage, right? It's not easy to open up. It's not easy to express how you feel. It's not easy to also to listen to someone. It's not always easy. And the dynamic of the way you are listening and expressing yourself is also very important. That when you are listening, you should not be trying to, when somebody's open with you and expressing themselves and opening up, you don't need to necessarily, I have Libra moon, so my thing in relationships, I immediately try to resolve a situation and I try to see how to make it better, and oh, what's right, what's wrong, what's good and bad, right? That's me. But after studying spirituality for a long time, I know this about myself. So my restriction is to completely avoid giving any kind of solution, any kind of feedback, or what to do, and completely just listening. That's all you need. That's all people need a lot of times, is just to listen. Listening is an art, right? Okay, that's a good question. So Kelly's asking, on subject of soulmates, Kelly's asking, can you have more than one soulmate? So soulmate, yes. Soulmate, and you can have a lot of soulmates. Like, I think some of my friends, I think they're my soulmates, right? But soulmate doesn't necessarily mean it's a person you're going to spend the rest of your life with. A divine life partner, that's who you're after. You understand? So that's something different. A divine life partner, that's what you want to have more in your life. Okay, but we all have a lot of soulmates, and we all hopefully have right now many soulmates. Soulmate is something that, it's like a kindled spirit. It's something that you feel like, it's almost like it's almost like you feel so at home with them, at ease, and it doesn't. It's soulmate. By the way, divine life partner or soulmate does not mean you guys are identical. It does not mean you get along all the time. Rob and Karen were ultimate soulmates. Did not get along. Did not get along always, especially in the beginning of a relationship. In the beginning of a relationship, they didn't like each other. The first time they saw each other, they really didn't like each other. They thought that literally didn't have any positive emotions. They did not like hate, God forbid, but they really didn't like each other. And in the beginning of their life, when they got married, completely different people, completely opposing views, completely different mindset and mentality and everything. They did not necessarily like glued right away. What they knew is that internal feeling. The internal feeling is your best compass for this. And the internal feeling was telling them that this is more right than anything they ever had in their life. And this is it. That's the ultimate North Star or compass you can be using in order to find that. But again, connecting to everything together, we also can ask Sarah to help us in our relationships, to help us in our connection, in our ability to listen, in our ability to be vulnerable, in our ability to be there for the other person. Relationship is the biggest work. Okay, there's three main relationships that a person has, the most important ones. It's the first one is you and the creator. Okay, that's number one of the number one. They're all equal. I don't want to say number one, but you and the creator, you and yourself. This is one of the main relationships, and you and your life partner. Those are the three most important. It's not a relationship with other people. It's not what people think about you. It's not what any of those things, but it's much closer to home, obviously, because you and the creator is a relationship you can work on at any time. You and yourself, hopefully at any time you can work on that. And you and your soulmate, you and your partner, also something that you can work on always. Now, one good indication of a good relationship is that you actually don't get along so well. There is kind of like friction and fighting and, how would you say it? It's not necessarily smooth always, especially in the beginning. It will take some time of adjustment, right? It's two different forces, two different universes trying to come together. Imagine, it's something that's not easy to do, right? You have points of view, they have points of view. You have a certain way of doing things, they have a certain way of doing things. So it's completely separate energies trying to come together. It's total fusion. So this sentence that Karen says, that he knew her, he married her, and then he loved her. So this is a beautiful indication for us that it's you. Sometimes in a relationship you might not experience love at first sight right away, right? Like, oh, just love them and that's it. Sometimes it will take work and it will take some effort. The most probably biggest tip for a relationship is that there is spirituality in the relationship. That's the biggest help that anyone can get, because a good relationship will push both people to grow, push both people to be better versions of themselves. It might not necessarily be that easy right away. It might be a little bit of, again, friction in the beginning, but the energy of the joinings of the two souls will push both of them to be better versions of themselves. Now, the only way that you can really do that is for spirituality. The only way you can really make yourself better is some form of spirituality. It's not possible to do that through going to the gym or eating, or just eating healthy. That's just doesn't. That's physical. Is it important? 100%, 100% important, and everyone should make sure that they always take care of their body and eat healthy, etc. That's not a question. But spirituality, meaning a time when you can reflect, when you can ask yourself, okay, what can I really change about myself? How often do you ask yourself that? How can I make myself better? So if I'm getting this feedback from people, if people are telling me I need to be more kind, I need to be more patient, I need to be more relaxed, I need to be more friendly, I need to be maybe more stern and stronger, whatever it is, whatever feedback you're getting from other people, how often are you sitting down with yourself and saying, okay, so how can I really change? What do I really need to change? What do I need to change? In spirituality, there's no pointing fingers. There's no, you need to do this. Once you do this, remember, 3 fingers are pointing at you. You're not in the right space. The only time you should tell someone what they should change is if you're their teacher or they're asking you and they're saying, listen, what do you think I should change about myself? What do you think I can make better about myself? Then you're given a space. And if you feel that the person is really open, give them feedback. However, the most feedback you should be giving is to yourself and asking yourself, okay, why do I have this? Why do I have this character trait? Why do I have this thing that obviously doesn't serve me? It doesn't serve other people. It doesn't serve the world. So how can I make this into something that works for me? Okay. And we're all different. And I don't want to say certain qualities, for example, I'll share my quality. I'm a big time Gemini, very, very Gemini. Have 4 or 5 planets in Gemini. So I can be thinking and analyzing. I think faster than normal people do. That's just my character trait. And I have a sense of impatience. So the moment that someone is not getting something, the moment something is not going fast enough, I start to get very impatient, and I'm like, come on, why can't you be faster? And then I start to realize after a while that I need to be a little bit more patient. I need to relax more, right? Be a little bit more relaxed with people. That's another thing for Geminis. For anyone who's a Gemini, Geminis are very intense. We're tense people. We're tense. We're wired. We're like always in the always kind of like a string, so the ability to relax, to calm down, etc. And we all constantly want to be picking a certain trait that we know that we have, that we are working on. You can use many different ways. You can use astrology, you can use people's feedback, you can use human design, you can use meditation, etc. There's many different ways of finding out what is it that I should be working on in my character trait, in my spirituality, right? And that's really what spirituality is, right? Is how, there was a great quote once. The way to know that you're spiritual is that you're becoming kinder, you're becoming more patient, you're becoming more easygoing, and you're becoming much more relaxed. That's how you know that you are really growing spiritually, right? That's the kind of like the test that you can do. So energy of soulmates, very powerful. Another beautiful thing that I really like about the idea of soulmates is that if you look at it really in a spiritual way, there's never a separation between soulmates. We live in a world of illusion. We live in a world where things are not how they really are, right? This world is not false, but it's a lot of layers. It's a projection, right? It's kind of like whatever source of projection you're connecting to. And on the outside, two people seem like it's two people coming together. However, the Zohar, Rabbi Shimon, and Rav and Karen always used to say it, actually, spirituality or soulmates or people coming together, it's something reuniting that was one, that was always one, that separated us as these souls entered this physical reality. However, when in truth, these two halves of one soul were always one. That is a very beautiful lesson. So if you really care about your relationship, or if you really care about finding your relationship, you're gonna always do two things. You're gonna always mentally communicate with that person. So in the time when you are meditating or when you're connecting or before you go into sleep, you can always send your soulmate, your other half, your partner, whoever you are in a relationship with right now, send them mental messages. Send them mental support. Send them emotional support. Send them unconditional love. Send them messages, I love you. I support you. I'm here for you. We're one. We're unified. We're not separated. You can do this. You are courageous. You're compassionate. You're wise. Meaning not just to be there only when it's visible, but actually at the time when you are only by yourself, you are practicing this. You are practicing this. It's a very not necessarily something that comes to you right away, right? That you would do this on your own, but actually this is whatever state you're in, whether you met your other half or you are already with them and you want to establish a stronger relationship, whatever it is, this way of communicating is going to be always very strong and always going to improve the relationship, always, especially before going to sleep, because when we sleep, our souls are limitless. They connect to the infinite reality and they're able to really connect with the truth and meet souls and connect, etc. So very big week for soulmates, huge week for soulmates. And we have these two forces of on one side, we have the incredible endless support of Sarah the Matriarch. Sarah, such a powerful soul. She's literally here with us. She's supporting us. She's assisting us. She's here for us. Her energy is here for us. The energy of Rosh Hashanah, right? Sarah is Shofar Rosh Hashanah, the 3 letters which connect us to Rosh Hashanah. So removing any judgments, but really asking the soul of Sarah the Matriarch to help us in our spirituality, in our spiritual journey, in our spiritual work, in our spiritual evolution. And as she assisted Isaac and Rebecca, all 3 of them, they're assisting us to improve our relationships. Sarah, Isaac, Rebecca, they're all here to give us this energy of soulmates, to give us this energy of improving our relationships. And again, working on our openness, on our vulnerability, on our openness, and being there for people, creating a safe space. This is essential. Create a safe space where another person can express themselves and not be judged, and just express themselves. And all you have to do is listen and just support them. Maybe a hug, maybe holding a hand or something like that. That's all they need. That's all. So a lot of times, we always know that Satan is strongest in darkness. So when we keep him concealed, when we keep him covered, that's when he's going to be strong. The moment we expose him, the moment we open him up, that's when he starts to get weak, because he's weak in the light. He gets weaker the closer we get to the light, and the more light we expose. The more we keep it inside, the stronger he is. The more exposure, the more light we reveal, the brighter it's going to be. So let's do a meditation where we're going to invite Sarah, where we're going to invite Isaac, and energy of soulmates, energy of humbleness to our life, to really have an incredible rest of the week and life. So we want to be comfortable. The fact of meditation, you can be standing, sitting, in lotus position, really doesn't matter, just as long as you're comfortable, as long as you're relaxed. And you want to close your eyes and then center your consciousness in your heart. It's not easy for you to meditate, don't worry about it. Just listen to the sound of my voice and you're also going to connect to the energy. And after that, we want to send our consciousness to the middle of the earth, where there is a tremendous amount of light force of the Creator. We want to pull this energy from the middle of the earth and feel this energy of creation, of newness coming from the bottom of our feet all the way to our top of our body. Opening all our chakras, our sphirot, our energy centers, and forming a beautiful ball of light above our head. You can visualize and try to notice, if you can, what color of light your ball is. And then pretend that you are in this ball of light. After all, we want to send this ball of light above our head, above the building we're in, start to go above our city, our town, our state, our country, our continent, and the whole planet, and enter our solar system, and faster than the speed of light, traveling through the entire universe, through all the galaxies and constellations, and going to the edge of the universe and passing through the edge of the universe, and going through layers of lights until we get to a very bright layer of light, and then a golden layer of light. And then we enter a plane that feels like jello or thick water. We keep going higher, and we see in the distance an opening of pearl-like iridescent light. We approach this opening, go through it, and enter the plane of the Creator. And here, as you enter, it's pearl-like beautiful light that kind of feels tingling. And at the beginning, it's glittering with pink and blue. And as we keep going higher, it becomes just beautiful pearl-like energy. And then you want to visualize as your ball of light melts and becomes one with this energy. And you feel whole and complete with the light. So in the beginning, at first, we want to ask the Creator to help us access the soul of Sarah, the life of Sarah, the consciousness of Sarah, this incredible being that's there for us, that's assisting us, that wants to assist us, that wants to guide us. So we want to, if you want to know what it means and what it feels like to be open to receive assistance, guidance, support, evolution and elevation from the soul of Sarah, say yes. And one thing that Sarah is teaching us and wants to teach us is self-love. Is loving ourselves, accepting ourselves, nurturing ourselves, and being a conduit of that energy into this world. So if you want to know what it means and what it feels like to love yourself, to accept yourself, to nourish yourself, to cherish yourself, to honor, respect yourself from the Creator's point of view, say yes. We're also connecting to energy of soulmates. So if you want to know the creator's definitions of what is a soulmate, what is a kindled spirit, what is a divine life partner, to understand these concepts, to understand these relationships, to bring them into our life, to be more comfortable in them, say yes. And we also want to receive a download, creators' perspectives, understanding, and feeling of what it means to be vulnerable, what it means, and how to create a safe space for other people to be vulnerable, how to open up, how to open our hearts, how to be there for other people, how to be there for ourselves, how to generate again more love. If you want that, also say yes. And also self-growth, self-evolution. We want to personally, each and every single one of us wants to right now ask the creator, what is my next level? How can I grow more? How can I achieve my next level of evolution? So if you want to know how to ask this question, and to personally, each and every single one of us should ask this question right now, say yes. And before we open our eyes, we want to receive instantaneous healing to our entire body, unconditional love of the creator to us, and also to create a blanket of this energy around the world. So if you want to participate in that and receive it for yourself, say yes. And we don't land, we stay there, we just rinse ourselves in this energy of the light, fill ourselves up with it again, and whenever you're ready, open your eyes. Awesome. Thank you for joining, everyone. Everyone is gonna have an amazing week. We have a new beginning, a lot of newness is here with us, so hopefully it's gonna create a lot of blessings and positivity.